Poppy here. Well, today I'd like to take you with me down to the Potter's house. Poppy here. I forgot. Now Poppy's here. I want to take you down to the Potter's house. It's a really neat place to visit. I really enjoy it. Well, the Potter man's name is Aaron. And oh, is he talented. And he has a little barn out in back of his house, like a big tool shed. And that's where his pottery shop is. He makes the most beautiful things. And one day he said, Poppy, would you like to learn how to make something? I said, sure, I'm always up for that. So I went inside and he gave me a lump of clay. And I got to get in my favorite position here. He gave me a lump of clay and he said, okay, Poppy, go to it. Let's see what you can come up with. So I got busy and you know what he does? He takes, it's like dry clay, earth-like, and he mixes it with some water and makes it sort of like into thick mashed potatoes. That's the fun part. Mixing all that, pushing that clay together, getting it all mixed up. And so I started to make something, and by this time, there were a couple other people coming up to the double doors, the barn door, and they were kind of watching. Poppy, what are you doing? I said, I'm learning how to make something with clay. And they said, oh, can we watch? I said, sure, watch. So I was working away there, and I made an animal about this big and this tall. And they said, Poppy, are you almost done? I said, there, done. I'm finished now. And they said, what is it? It sort of looks like maybe a pig with antlers. And I said, right, you got it. It's a pig with antlers. Okay, Poppy. Then I tried making something else. And I thought, well, I can't mess this up. So I got another lump of clay, and I was patting it out and smoothing it out, and I was trying to make a plate. And I thought, I can't mess up a plate if I make a plate. So I made a real nice plate. And they said, Poppy, that looks more like a run-over pork chop than a plate. And I thought, well, maybe pottery isn't my thing. I better find something else, some other hobby to do. I wasn't very good at pottery. But you know, I really liked watching Aaron. He was so talented because he had a what they call a throw wheel. It's a wheel that goes around like this, and he works it with his feet, sort of like an old sewing machine, you know, but it makes a wheel go around like this. And he's talented. He'll take that clay and he'll throw that lump of clay on that potter's wheel, they call it. And then he starts it spinning real fast. He gets his feet going and spinning real fast, going around and around. And then he starts like putting his hand in the middle of that lump, and it starts to hollow out the inside. And then he goes to the outside and it gets smooth and it's going around, and he adds a little water sometimes. And then he makes different shapes. He can make it come up tall, or he could squish it out, or put a ledge around it, or make it skinny. He's so good with making all different kinds of things to hold different kinds of things. His pottery, they are pots and stuff. They're used in kitchens and in various places to hold things, but they're beautiful. And some are just like beautiful tableware, cups and saucers and plates. And then he paints them real pretty after he fires them. You know, that's what a potter does. He molds them and he stretches them, and then he puts them on a shelf to dry and when they're in the right shape. And then he puts them in a thing called a kiln. And that's a real hot oven, real hot. And it bakes that clay real hot so it doesn't just break easy and doesn't just get out of shape or get wet again and go back to being clay again. But that's what really holds it, is that kiln, the hot, 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 hot fire. But then he paints them so pretty. They're beautiful. And you know, that's what the Lord wants to do with us too. In fact, the scripture talks about it. I think it was Jeremiah. I'll put the reference up. The Lord told him to go down the street and go to the potter's house. That's in the Bible. And so Jeremiah stood in the door of the potter's house, and he was looking at the potter working on the different vessels, all different shapes and sizes, all different volumes that would hold different amounts of liquid. Some were for water, some were for oil, some were for goat's milk, some were just for everything, some were for food. But he made so many wonderful vessels, and you can read that in the scriptures with Jeremiah going down to the potter's house. But that's what God has done with us. God has made us to be like different vessels. And when we ask the Lord to use us for something, he'll say, I will. I would like to use you for something. He'll take me like I'm a lump of clay, and he'll put me on that potter's wheel, and he'll start spinning it and hollowing out the center and squeezing it in certain places and just making a beautiful vessel out of it to be used for his glory. And that's sometimes when we ask the Lord to use us, first we have to go on that potter's wheel so we can be used. And we get a lot of pinching and squeezing and pulling and firing. That hurts, a fire. And it just seems like, oh, why did I ask for all this? It's so uncomfortable. But he's making us into vessels, into containers, into things that can be used to his glory and for other people. Handmade by God. So next time you feel like you're going through rough times, even if you ask the Lord to help you through something, first of all, he has to put us on that spinning wheel, that potter's wheel that spins around. And he has to sometimes get kind of rough with us and punch his fist in the middle and make a hole and start putting up the edges, or putting gouges in the sides, taking knives and things and he makes us what we want to be and what he knows that we could be best used for. So when we ask, get ready for a ride on the potter's wheel. But it's wonderful to be used by God. It's a real honor and a privilege. And sometimes some of us look kind of not so good and stuff, but we're still useful. But God always makes things beautiful. Okay, love you guys. Bye-bye.